And go.
Attack!
45, you're going to stop at me. Roll on down here, 45.
It is January, and I plan to be at my peak in mid-May. However, the build part of my training has been going well, so I decided to go do a road race, the first road race of the season down south. I consider this a pre-season road race as my regular racing season starts around mid-February. However, I am 71, and the race category I'll be doing is with the 55s and 60s, and this race has a key climb in it. So, I'm going to get trounced, I just don't know how bad. Hey cycling community, this is Steve, Grusis the Cycling Greek. I had done this race a number of times back in the early 2000s when I was on the Palace Indian Gaming Masters racing team. So I knew what to expect. So let's take a moment to go over the numbers. This is a 3-lap, 42-mile race, and you can see the climbs I have in the little profile at the bottom of the screen. At the end of the third lap, we make a turn and we go off a finishing wall. This course has an elevation gain of about 3,000 feet. One of the things I look for in doing a pre-season race is making sure that I get things dialed in. More specifically, that I don't forget anything, like helmets, shoes, or making sure that the batteries are fully charged. My front camera was not fully charged, which is why you're seeing it as an insert in the upper right hand corner, because at a certain point it's going to die out. But fortunately, that happened after the key climb. With being a 71-year-old in this younger group, my tactics were going to be that I was going to suck wheel. But not only suck wheel, I had to be in good position and suck wheel. This meant that I had to look for every opportunity I could to fill in a little gap, move up where I could, follow wheel where I could. The challenge is, well, other than the age factor, is that I haven't done any race-specific training just yet. That'll be happening next month. I've done my once-a-week old guy VO2 max work, but other than that, it's been huge amounts of endurance. Oh, and my once-a-week tempo work that's just started to move up into sweet spot work. It's been 8 to 10 years since I've done a race with the 55s, and what I've noticed from this race is that it was more watts, more speed, more efforts, and more recovery needed before those efforts, and more pain. When I got to the car after the race, I daintily got off the bike, and then I bent down to loosen up my shoes, and I couldn't support my body with my right leg because my right adductor was totally gone, and who knows what else was going on with my glutes in the back. Fortunately, that eased up about 2 or 3 hours later. Alright, let's go to the action on the screen. What I forgot to mention earlier when I was doing the numbers is that we have between 53 and 55 riders in this pack. Okay, there's a rider moving up, and I hesitated, and I'll show you what happens because of that. I start to move up, and as I do, I keep my eye on everybody to the left of me, up ahead of me, to make sure that they don't jump into that lane and possibly cause me to crash. Okay, so as I move up, there is somebody that jumps into the lane, and now that guy's up there. I would have been on his wheel about 2 or 3 more rows up, but now I'm back here. I made good gains, but they could have been better, and that's important, particularly when we get to the climb. So let's go there now. This is actually a little before the climb. I'm going to do a little left, I'm going to do a little right, then we start the climb. Now up ahead there's somebody that's taken off. Can't tell who it is from back here. As we take that final right turn, there's more riders ahead of me than there are behind me, which means I'm not in a great position to do any sag climbing. And I'm pretty confident that I'll need to do some sag climbing. You've probably noticed by now that I have my power numbers up in the upper part of the screen. Now just keep in mind that I'm 71. After the race, Garmin indicated that I have an FTP of 268, which is pretty much in the range in the last few years, and I consider that a win as my FTP has not linearly degraded with my age. This climb is 1.2 miles long, followed by a 2/3 of a mile of upward undulations. My power keeping up with these guys is well past anaerobic and into neuromuscular. And of course the question is, can I get to the top before I blow? Now turn your attention to the lower right hand corner of where my heart rate is. Right now it's about 146. My maximum is about 163, if that. My max heart rate has been pretty consistent for the last 2, maybe 3 years. I do have a teammate in this race. He's 5 years younger than me with a racing age of 66. We both recently joined the Clean Power Cycling team for 2026. While Scott does not have the same drive I do for filling gaps, I have to be at my best to be at his level. While my wattage has now dropped to the anaerobic range, my heart rate's now floating around 95%. I am now starting to sag climb, but sag climbing at the 2/3 mark is much, much worse than if I was up in the top 20% starting to sag climb. Looking toward the back on the rear camera view, you can see that people are starting to detonate. You can see more that are starting to pass me. Hoping to be on wheels by the time I get to the top. But my power, now flirting with 300, is starting to show that I'm getting tired and I'm starting to slow. I'm a bit concerned because I haven't seen Scott yet, and I'm certainly not turning around to take a look. Actually, the rider that's coming up back there, that's Scott. I have to make a note to clean my lens. It seems like I found a group. So if we can all just stay together and get over the top, maybe we'll have a chance to catch on. Then I'll have to worry about this second time we come up this climb. As those riders are starting to increase their speed, my heart rate's at 159, about 4 beats below this theoretical max. I just can't keep pace. Scott has caught up to me, and now he's jumping, and he's able to get on their wheels. I'm thinking not all is lost yet. I keep rolling, get some legs behind me, and then catch up to those guys up there. The problem is, those guys are thinking the same thing. They're trying to get up back to the main group. Well, I'm finally able to get some legs and some lungs back. So now I'm chasing, I see that there's a rider dropped up there, and that would be a wheel that I could work with. That is 58-year-old James Robinson from S2C Bosch Racing Team. James and I worked together for about half a lap before he drops off and bids me adieu. He later comes up with a couple of the riders, and now we have a working group of 4, and we stay that way all the way to the finish. Those other 2 riders are 63-year-old James Kalaski from Canyon Velo and 60-year-old Andrew Knuckles from Evoke Racing. Now, we were mostly working together. On the last half of that last lap, I was hurting and I was starting to miss poles. James from Evoke Racing would put in some surges, which would allow me to not chase him and jump on other wheels that were chasing him. That would give me a chance to miss a pole. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that I made it all the way to the end with these guys. And that brings us to the final wall. And it was a long one. Turning onto the wall, I knew my legs were fried, but I wanted to see what I could do. I knew that James from Evoke Racing was not a great climber, and I was keeping parity with the other 2 until they started to slowly pull away from me. So at that point, I was just trying to keep up my speed so I can keep ahead of James. James had other ideas. So how did Scott do? Well, the chase group that he had connected with actually caught the main pack. On the second lap during that same climb, Scott lost connection. At that point, he went as steadily hard as he could, and he finished the race solo. There was no one between him and our group. Scott finished 33rd, I finished 37th. In spite of what you saw, I got a lot of benefits from this race, and I'm glad I did it. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.